The message arrived on a Tuesday. No warning, no conventional radio signals, just a burst of data that overwhelmed Earth's largest radio telescope in Puerto Rico. Within hours, the message had been decrypted, revealing coordinates for a meeting in Earth's orbit. Humanity had made first contact. 3 days later, Commander Eric Russell stood on the bridge of the Voyager, Earth's newest and most advanced spacecraft. His palms were sweaty as he adjusted his uniform collar. This wasn't just another mission. This was history. "We're approaching the designated coordinates, sir," said Lieutenant Ben Walsh from the navigation console. "Sensors are picking up something. It's huge." Eric moved to the view screen as it flickered to life. The object that appeared caused the entire bridge crew to fall silent. A massive vessel hung in space before them, sleek and angular with a metallic surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The alien ship was at least 20 times the size of their own. "Open communications channel," Eric ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Before they could establish contact, a beam of pale blue light engulfed the Voyager. The ship's systems remained functional, but the crew felt a strange tingling sensation as the light passed through them. "They're scanning us," said Communications Officer Grace Palmer. "And I think they're learning our language. The computer shows they're downloading our entire database." "Can they do that?" asked Ben, alarmed. Eric's response was cut short as the view screen changed. A humanoid figure appeared, tall and slender with iridescent skin and eyes that were entirely black. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move, but everyone heard the words clearly in their minds. "We are the Malnori hegemony. Your species is primitive but potentially useful. You will be integrated." The alien's cold, emotionless tone sent a chill through Eric's spine. "We come in peace," he said carefully. "We wish to establish diplomatic relations between our worlds. Diplomacy is inefficient. Integration is necessary." The alien transmission ended abruptly. Eric ordered immediate retreat, but before they could engage engines, 3 smaller Malnori vessels appeared around them. "They're charging weapons," shouted Security Chief Ryan Davis. "Evasive maneuvers," Eric commanded, but it was too late. The Voyager shuddered as energy blasts struck its hull. Somehow they managed to engage their experimental quantum drive and escape back to Earth. But the message was clear. The aliens were not interested in peaceful coexistence. 2 days later, without warning, the Malnori attacked Luna Colony. From his emergency command center beneath Denver, Eric watched helplessly as the live feed showed the colony's dome breaching. Over 4,000 colonists died in minutes as their air escaped into the lunar vacuum. "They didn't even demand surrender," whispered Vice Admiral Frank Wilson as they watched the horrifying footage. "They just executed them." In the days that followed, Earth's military forces mobilized, but preliminary assessments were grim. The Malnori technology was centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. Hope came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lisa Wright, a neurologist at MIT, discovered something unusual when analyzing data from the brief scan the aliens had performed on the Voyager crew. "They couldn't properly map our neural patterns," she explained to the emergency council. "There's something about human brains that confuse their scanning technology. We process information in ways they don't understand." Eric studied the brain scans Lisa presented. "You're saying we think differently than they do?" "Exactly. The Malnori appear to process information in purely logical, linear patterns. Human creativity, intuition, even our emotional responses. These create neural pathways they can't replicate or predict." "How does that help us?" asked Admiral Wilson. "They still have weapons that can vaporize our cities." Lisa smiled for the first time since the attack. "Because any military strategy relies on predicting your enemy's actions. And if there's one thing humans have always excelled at, it's being unpredictable." As the Council began developing plans based on Lisa's discovery, satellites detected a fleet of Malnori ships approaching Earth. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. Lisa Wright's lab had become a war room. Computer screens displayed brain scans next to Malnori tactical data recovered from the Voyager's brief encounter. For 2 weeks straight, she had worked alongside military strategist John Martinez, searching for a way to use humanity's neural uniqueness as a weapon. "Look at this," Lisa pointed to a simulation showing Malnori attack patterns. "Their ships move in perfect geometric formations. No variation, no creativity." John nodded. "Like a computer program. Efficient but predictable." "Exactly. And when we introduce random human decisions." She tapped a key, and the simulation showed Malnori formations breaking down into chaos when faced with erratic human movements. Outside, the situation grew desperate. 3 small colonies on Mars had already fallen. Earth's conventional forces suffered devastating losses in every direct engagement. The Malnori's technological advantage seemed insurmountable. But not everyone was fighting conventionally. In the ruins of Seattle, a small militia group led by former park ranger Paul Garcia had destroyed a Malnori scouting party using nothing but hunting rifles and unpredictable ambush tactics. Similar reports came in from Brazil, Kenya, and Vietnam. Small human victories using strategies the aliens couldn't anticipate. John brought these reports to Admiral Catherine Simmons at the Underground Command Center in Australia. "These aren't just lucky breaks," he explained. "The Malnori literally cannot process certain types of human behavior. Their tactical systems fall apart when faced with our unpredictability." Admiral Simmons frowned. "Are you suggesting we abandon organized military response in favor of chaos?" "Not abandon," Lisa interjected. "Weaponize. We're calling it the Chaos Protocol." She displayed their findings. Malnori ships operated on logical algorithms that broke down when faced with seemingly irrational human choices. Their weapons targeting systems faltered when humans moved in patterns that defied mathematical prediction. "We need to fight like humans, not like machines," John said. "Use jokes, art, music, emotions, everything that makes us different from them." Admiral Simmons looked skeptical. "You want to defeat an advanced alien species with poetry?" "In a way, yes," Lisa replied. "Their entire civilization is built on pure logic. They've evolved beyond creativity because they never needed it, but we needed it to survive." The evidence was compelling, but conventional military leaders resisted. Only after losing the Battle of the Pacific, where 16 Earth battleships were destroyed without inflicting a single casualty on the Malnori fleet, did Admiral Simmons finally authorize full implementation of the Chaos Protocol. Training centers were established in hidden locations worldwide. Soldiers learned to fight with deliberate randomness, to make decisions based on intuition rather than tactical doctrines. Engineers developed communication systems based on cultural references and jokes that Malnori translation algorithms couldn't interpret. A month later, the first test of the protocol came when a Malnori cruiser attacked Buenos Aires. Instead of organized resistance, they encountered strange human behaviors: soldiers dancing while firing weapons, combat vehicles moving in patterns based on children's games, communication channels playing rock music interspersed with tactical commands. The confusion was enough. For the first time, a Malnori vessel retreated in disarray. "It worked," John said as they watched the footage. "They couldn't predict what we would do because we weren't being logical." Lisa nodded. "But this was just one ship. Their main fleet will adapt." "Then we need to be even more unpredictable," said Admiral Simmons. "And I have an idea so crazy it might actually work." She outlined her plan. Earth would appear to surrender completely, while secretly implementing the most unpredictable strategy of all. "The Malnori understand conquest and resistance," she explained. "But they'll never understand deception, because deception isn't logical. And that will be our greatest weapon." Earth's leaders gathered in the underground bunker beneath Geneva to witness the most difficult broadcast in human history. Admiral Simmons stood before the camera, her face solemn, as she read the prepared statement. "To the people of Earth and to the Malnori hegemony, I announce our formal surrender. We cannot match their superior technology and military might. Effective immediately, all human forces will lay down their weapons. The broadcast went out across all channels. Within hours, Malnori ships landed in major cities around the world. Their leader, a tall figure named Vorthak, was installed as planetary overseer in a ceremony at the United Nations. But beneath this show of defeat, a different reality unfolded. Deep within an abandoned coal mine in Wyoming, engineer Daniel Foster worked tirelessly on his quantum entanglement communication network. Unlike conventional signals that could be intercepted, quantum entangled particles shared changes instantaneously regardless of distance, and were completely invisible to Malnori detection systems. "It's working," Daniel whispered as the first message appeared on his screen. It was from a resistance cell in Sydney, confirming successful implementation of Chaos Protocol Phase 2. Similar hidden facilities around the world activated in the weeks following surrender. On the surface, humans appeared compliant, working in Malnori factories, providing resources, following alien directives. But underground, a global resistance formed, connected by Daniel's untraceable network. The Malnori never suspected. Their logical minds couldn't conceive that a defeated species would pretend to submit while secretly planning rebellion. Such deception was irrational in their view. Why waste resources on a futile resistance when cooperation offered survival? This blind spot became humanity's greatest advantage. Olivia Campbell understood this better than most. A former actress before the invasion, she now served as personal assistant to Vorthak himself. Her seemingly eager cooperation earned her increasing access to the alien command structure. "They don't understand facial expressions," she reported through the quantum network. "They can't tell when we're lying because they don't comprehend the concept of deliberate deception." Each day, Olivia collected vital intelligence on Malnori operations, ship movements, and technologies. Each night, she transmitted this information through Daniel's network to resistance cells worldwide. 3 months into the occupation, the resistance had infiltrated every level of Malnori operations. Humans who appeared to be collaborators were actually gathering intelligence, sabotaging equipment, and preparing for coordinated action. The aliens remained oblivious. Their logical minds saw only what made sense to them, a conquered species accepting their fate. The concept that humans might sacrifice short-term safety for long-term freedom was beyond their comprehension. In the Malnori Command Center in former Washington, D.C., Vorthak met with his lieutenants. Olivia stood quietly in the corner, taking notes and appearing subservient. "Integration proceeds efficiently," Vorthak stated. "Human compliance exceeds predicted models by 23.7%. Some anomalies have been detected," noted another Malnori. "Human productivity fluctuates without logical pattern." "Inconsequential," Vorthak dismissed. "Humans are primitive. Their emotional nature creates inefficiencies, but they accept our rule." Olivia kept her expression neutral while her mind raced. The resistance now had over 2 million members worldwide. Daniel's quantum network connected them all, invisible to alien detection. Lisa and John had trained thousands in the art of unpredictable warfare. That evening, Olivia transmitted the most important message yet through the quantum network. "Overseer confirms all Malnori defense systems fully integrated with Central Command. Vulnerability confirmed. Recommend initiating Operation Checkmate." Admiral Simmons received the message in her hidden command center beneath the ruins of Chicago. After 6 months of planning, gathering intelligence, and building their hidden forces, humanity was ready to strike back. "Send the signal," she ordered. "The deception ends tomorrow." The attack began with music. At exactly 3:17 a.m., resistance cells across the globe activated speakers playing everything from classical symphonies to heavy metal. The sudden noise violated nighttime protocols, drawing Malnori security forces into the streets. It was exactly what humanity wanted. As alien troops responded to the musical disturbance, the real attacks began. 12 Malnori outposts across 6 continents were hit simultaneously, each with a completely different approach. In Cairo, resistance fighters moved according to dance choreography, their seemingly random movements confusing Malnori targeting systems. In Seoul, attackers used children's games like red light, green light to coordinate their advances. In Rio de Janeiro, the assault pattern was based on samba steps. The Malnori couldn't predict any of it. Their logical combat algorithms failed against methods that followed no recognizable military doctrine. Captain William Hayes led the most daring mission, a direct assault on the Malnori flagship hovering above the former United Nations building in New York. His team of 20 commandos had trained for months using virtual reality simulations built from Olivia's intelligence. Remember, don't think logically, William told his team as their small craft approached the massive alien vessel. The moment you start acting predictably, we're dead. They breached the hull using a method no military strategist would approve. They simply asked to be let in. Disguised as human servants delivering food, they exploited the Malnori inability to distinguish human faces. Once inside, they split up and moved through the ship following routes based not on efficiency, but on patterns from William's daughter's coloring book. The Malnori never saw it coming. Meanwhile, Lisa Wright implemented the next phase of Chaos Protocol, the cognitive virus. Using data gathered during months of occupation, she had developed psychological tactics that exploited the Malnori's rigid thought patterns. The resistance broadcast seemingly nonsensical messages on Malnori communication frequencies, paradoxes, jokes, puns, and contradictions. To humans, these were simply confusing. To the Malnori, whose minds required logical consistency, they were devastating. Alien commanders found themselves unable to process information or issue coherent orders. "It's working," Lisa whispered as reports came in showing Malnori forces in disarray. Their minds literally cannot process logical inconsistencies. On the flagship, William's team reached the Central Command Center. Instead of a firefight, they unleashed their secret weapon. Portable devices broadcasting optical illusions and impossible geometric patterns on every screen. The Malnori officers froze, their minds unable to reconcile what they were seeing. "Take control of the weapons systems," William ordered as his team secured the bridge without firing a single shot. The aliens weren't dead, just incapacitated by cognitive overload. Across the globe, similar victories mounted. Malnori troops retreated in confusion as humans employed strategies ranging from absurdist theater techniques to sports play formations. When aliens tried to adapt to one approach, humans would switch to something completely different. At Malnori Central Command, Vorthak struggled to comprehend the situation. Reports from across the planet showed coordinated attacks that followed no predictable pattern. His tactical computers offered no solutions because the human behaviors defied all logic. When Olivia entered his office with her usual calm demeanor, he didn't suspect anything until she spoke. "The problem, Overseer," she said, dropping her subservient manner, "is that you calculated everything except the human capacity for deception." Before he could respond, the quantum entanglement device she carried broadcast Lisa's cognitive virus directly into the command center systems. Within minutes, the entire Malnori leadership was incapacitated. By sunrise, humanity had secured control of every major Malnori installation on Earth. The flagship, under William's command, now orbited Earth as humanity's first true interstellar vessel. Admiral Simmons addressed the world from the captured Malnori headquarters. "Today marks our first victory, but the war has just begun. The Malnori hegemony spans dozens of star systems. They will return, and we must be ready." What no one yet realized was that the captured flagship contained something even more valuable than alien technology. It held star charts and records of other species who had faced the Malnori before. Lisa Wright couldn't believe what she was seeing. The data from the captured Malnori flagship had taken weeks to decrypt, but what it revealed changed everything they thought they knew about the invasion. "We aren't the first," she told Admiral Simmons as they stood in the makeshift laboratory, built inside the former Malnori Command Center. "Not even close. On the screen before them scrolled records of dozens of civilizations the Malnori had conquered or destroyed. Some dated back thousands of years. The pattern was always the same. Identify a developing intelligent species, assess their potential threat level, then either integrate or eliminate them. Why didn't they just destroy us immediately? Admiral Simmons asked, studying the grim catalog of extinct species. Because we were useful, Lisa replied. Our creativity confused them, but they saw it as a resource to exploit. They wanted to study us before deciding whether to integrate or eliminate. The most disturbing discovery came when exploring data about the Proxima Centauri system, Earth's nearest stellar neighbor. According to Malnori records, a civilization had existed there until about 50,000 years ago. The aliens had designated them the Proxima Sentients and had wiped them out completely. Admiral Simmons authorized an expedition. The captured flagship, renamed Freedom by its human crew, made the journey to Proxima Centauri in just 3 days using Malnori faster-than-light technology. What they found confirmed Lisa's worst fears and gave them new hope. The third planet of Proxima Centauri was a graveyard world. Once thriving cities now lay in ruins, but beneath the surface, in vast underground chambers, the Proxima Sentients had left a message. Warnings carved in stone and encoded in crystals that somehow survived the millennia. They knew the Malnori would come back, said Alan Peterson, the expedition archaeologist, as he translated the alien script. These aren't just records, they're warnings to anyone who might find them. The Proxima Sentients had discovered what humanity had already learned, that the Malnori could be defeated by unpredictability and illogical behavior. But they had realized it too late. Before they could implement their defense, the Malnori had bombarded their world from orbit. In their final days, the last survivors had hidden beneath the surface, recording everything they knew about the Malnori for future civilizations to find. More importantly, they left coordinates. These point to 17 different star systems, Lisa explained as the Freedom returned to Earth. According to these records, these were other civilizations targeted by the Malnori. Some might have survived. Admiral Simmons called an emergency meeting of Earth's United Leadership Council. We need to send missions to each of these coordinates. If any of these civilizations still exist, we need to make contact. The debate was intense. Some argued that humanity should focus on defending Earth rather than reaching out to potentially hostile alien species. Others believed forming alliances was their only hope against the vast Malnori Empire. In the end, they compromised. 7 missions would be sent, each to the nearest and most promising coordinates. 3 months later, the gamble paid off. The expedition to Ta Siti returned with representatives from the Kilari, a species that had been fighting the Malnori for centuries. Like humans, they had discovered ways to use unpredictability against the invaders, but lacked Earth's unified strategy. Soon after, contact was established with the Novan Collective from 61 Cygni and the Crystalline Viridians from Epsilon Eridani. Each species had their own stories of Malnori aggression. Each had developed different methods of resistance. In a historic ceremony broadcast around the world, Admiral Simmons welcomed representatives from 5 surviving species to Earth. Together, they formed the first interstellar alliance against the Malnori hegemony. For thousands of years, the Malnori have preyed upon emerging civilizations, she declared. They believed their logical superiority made them invincible. But today, here on Earth, we prove them wrong. Together, we will not just resist, we will take the fight to them. The alliance had begun, and humanity, once on the brink of extinction, now stood at its center, ready to unite the galaxy against its oldest enemy. On the red plains of Mars, a new facility had been built. Its purpose was known to only a dozen people in the entire solar system. From orbit, it appeared to be a simple research station, but deep underground, humanity and its new allies were developing something unprecedented. We call it the Nexus, Daniel Foster explained to the gathered representatives of the Interstellar Alliance. It amplifies the neural patterns that make humans so unpredictable to the Malnori. The device looked surprisingly simple, a spherical chamber lined with quantum processors and neural interfaces, but its potential was anything but simple. The Malnori brain cannot process certain types of human thought patterns, Laserite continued. What we've created is essentially a weapon that projects these patterns on a massive scale. The Kilari representative, a tall being with iridescent skin, leaned forward. You have weaponized thought itself. In a way, Lisa nodded. The Nexus takes the creative, emotional, and non-linear aspects of human cognition and broadcasts them as a coherent wave. To the Malnori, it's like facing a wall of cognitive static. The Alliance had contributed technologies and knowledge from each species. The Novan Collective provided quantum entanglement amplifiers. The Viridians contributed crystalline matrices that could store and project consciousness. With these combined technologies, the Nexus was far more powerful than anything humans could have built alone. We're ready for the first full-scale test, Daniel announced. The test was scheduled for the following day. Alliance leaders and scientists gathered in the observation chamber as volunteers connected to the Nexus. These weren't soldiers but artists, musicians, philosophers, and children, people whose minds exhibited the highest levels of creativity and nonlinear thinking. As the system powered up, the monitoring screens showed normal operations. Then something unexpected happened. The energy output doubled, then tripled beyond predicted levels. The facility lights flickered as the Nexus drew more power than expected. On the screens, impossible patterns began to form, fractals that shouldn't exist, colors with no names, geometries that defied physics. Shut it down, someone shouted. Daniel raced to the control panel, but before he could reach it, a surge of energy pulsed from the Nexus. The blast wasn't physical. It carried no heat or radiation, but everyone felt it pass through them like a wave of pure thought. Outside, the Martian landscape briefly rippled, as if reality itself had wavered. When the effect faded, a perfect circle of transformed terrain surrounded the facility. The red dust reconfigured into intricate patterns visible from orbit. What just happened? Admiral Simmons demanded once systems were back online. Lisa checked the readings with shaking hands. The Nexus didn't just project human thought patterns. It amplified them to a level we didn't think possible. This isn't just a defensive weapon. This could potentially eradicate an entire species, the Kilari representative finished for her. If deployed against the Malnori homeworld, this could wipe out their civilization completely. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had set out to defend itself, not to commit genocide. The ethical debate raged for days. Some argued that the Malnori had shown no mercy to countless civilizations and deserved none in return. Others insisted that using such a weapon would make humanity no better than their enemies. In the end, Lisa and Daniel proposed a compromise. We've modified the Nexus, Daniel explained to Admiral Simmons a week later. We've added safeguards that limit its effects. It will still incapacitate Malnori minds, but it won't permanently destroy them. And we've created this, Lisa added, revealing a small device, a quantum entangled transmitter. It will broadcast a message directly to the Malnori High Council, bypassing all their defenses. The message was simple, a demonstration of the Nexus at reduced power, followed by these words: "This is humanity's warning to the Malnori hegemony. We possess the means to end your existence completely. Cease all hostilities and withdraw from conquered worlds, or your end is certain." The transmission was sent. Now all they could do was wait for the response. The Grand Hall of the Malnori High Council had never been entered by non-Malnori species before. Its vast ceiling reached up hundreds of feet, with walls of a material that seemed to shift between solid and liquid. At the center stood a circular table where the 7 Malnori elders governed their empire spanning dozens of star systems. Today, for the first time, aliens stood before them. Commander Eric Russell led the human delegation. The same man who had faced the first disastrous contact with the Malnori now returned as Earth's representative. Beside him stood Lisa Wright, Admiral Simmons, and representatives from the Alliance species. "Your demonstration was impressive," said the Chief Elder, its voice translating directly into their minds. "No species has ever threatened a hegemony with extinction before." "It wasn't a threat," Eric replied calmly. "It was a warning. There's a difference." The distinction seemed to confuse the Malnori. Their rigid minds struggled with such nuances. "You could have destroyed us but chose not to," another elder observed. "This is inefficient." "It's human," Lisa responded. "We don't want to destroy you. We want to coexist." The negotiation that followed lasted 3 days. Reports reached them that throughout Malnori territory, subjugated worlds were rising up, inspired by Earth's example. The hegemony was facing internal rebellion for the first time in its 1,000-year history. On the final day, Eric presented humanity's terms. They were simple but revolutionary. All conquered species would be granted independence. A new galactic council would be formed where all sentient species, including the Malnori, would have equal representation. Aggression against any sentient species would be met with united response from all others. "Why should we accept these terms?" the Chief Elder asked. "Your weapon is powerful, but our empire spans hundreds of worlds." Eric smiled. "Because we're giving you something more valuable than conquest, a chance to evolve. The Malnori have been stagnant for millennia because your perfect logic eliminated change and adaptation. What you've been missing is what makes humans special: creativity, emotion, art, music." To demonstrate, he nodded to Lisa, who activated a small device. The hall filled with a symphony performed by Earth's finest orchestra, music more complex and beautiful than anything the Malnori had ever experienced. The elders fell silent, their normally impassive faces showing something new wonder. "This is what cooperation with humanity offers," Eric continued. "Not just survival, but growth. The chance to become more than you are." 3 weeks later, the treaty was signed. The Malnori hegemony officially dissolved, replaced by the Galactic Cooperative of Independent Species. Former conquered worlds celebrated their freedom, while Malnori society began the slow process of cultural transformation. Back on Earth, the mood was one of cautious celebration. Humanity had not only survived, but had fundamentally changed the course of galactic history. The Nexus weapon was placed under the control of the new Galactic Council, with strict protocols for its use. It would serve as the ultimate deterrent against any species that might consider conquest in the future. Admiral Simmons retired, her place taken by younger leaders prepared to guide humanity into its new role as galactic peacekeepers. John Martinez established academies to teach human creativity and unpredictability as diplomatic tools rather than weapons. In the newly constructed Galactic Council chamber on Luna, now rebuilt and expanded, a simple plaque was installed. It contained a message in all known languages of the Alliance. Aggression against any sentient species means certain extinction. This is humanity's promise to the galaxy. On the evening after the first official council meeting, Lisa Wright stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. So many of them now held known worlds with allies, friends, and former enemies learning to coexist. Eric joined her at the window. "Thinking about how far we've come." She nodded. "From nearly being wiped out to reshaping galactic civilization. All because we think differently." "The Proxima Sentients would be proud," Eric said. "Their warning helped save us, and we used it to save others." Lisa smiled as she watched ships from a dozen worlds moving through space around Luna. "That's the real human advantage, isn't it? We don't just survive. We change everything we touch." In the vast darkness of space, humanity's light was now spreading, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a peace built on understanding that differences weren't just to be tolerated, but celebrated. 5 years had passed since the formation of the Galactic Cooperative. Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted before the Malnori invasion. Cities now featured architecture blending human designs with elements from a dozen alien cultures. The night sky was never truly dark, with ships from across the galaxy constantly arriving and departing. Lisa Wright stood on the balcony of the new Nexus Research Institute in Geneva. Below her stretched a campus where scientists of 17 different species worked together, studying the unique properties of consciousness across the galaxy. "Dr. Wright, your visitors have arrived," said her assistant. Lisa smiled as she entered the conference room. Eric Russell was there, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. Beside him stood Vorthak, once the feared overseer of occupied Earth, now the representative of the reformed Malnori Republic. "It's good to see you, Vorthak," Lisa said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture that the Malnori had adopted. "The feeling is unexpected but pleasant," Vorthak replied, still struggling with emotional concepts but making progress. They had come to discuss a remarkable development. Young Malnori were beginning to show signs of creativity, something previously thought impossible for their species. Brain scans revealed new neural pathways forming, pathways remarkably similar to those found in humans. "Evolution in action," Eric commented as they reviewed the data. "Exposure to human thought patterns is actually changing Malnori physiology. Our rigid thinking kept us strong but static for millennia," Vorthak acknowledged. "Now we change, grow. It is uncomfortable but necessary." After the meeting, Lisa took a shuttle to the moon for the 5th anniversary celebration of the cooperative's founding. The grand hall that had been built on the site of the destroyed Luma colony was filled with representatives from 32 worlds. Daniel Foster found her in the crowd. His quantum entanglement communication system had been adapted for peaceful use, now connecting the galaxy in ways previously unimaginable. "Heard about the new discovery in the Sirius system?" he asked excitedly. "They found evidence of another advanced civilization, much older than any we've encountered." "Hostile?" Lisa asked, always cautious after humanity's experiences. "Doesn't appear to be. In fact, they might have been the ones who seeded intelligent life throughout this sector of the galaxy." The implications were staggering. A precursor species that might have influenced the evolution of all known sentient races, including humans and Malnori. Admiral Simmons, who had come out of retirement to serve as security advisor to the Council, joined their conversation. Despite her gray hair, her eyes were as sharp as ever. "The universe keeps getting more interesting," she said. "When I was a young officer, we wondered if we were alone. Now we're discovering we might all be distant cousins." The lights dimmed as the ceremony began. A human child and a young Kilari took the stage together, representing the first generation to grow up in a unified galaxy. They unveiled a new monument, a floating sphere containing soil from every member world, suspended in a field of pure energy. As Lisa watched, she felt something she hadn't experienced since before the invasion: hope without reservation. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged not just survivors but transformative agents of change. The very qualities that had nearly doomed them, their unpredictability, their emotional nature, their creative chaos, had become their greatest gift to the galaxy. Later that night, as celebration ships created light shows in Luna's sky, Eric joined Lisa on an observation platform. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the Malnori had never found us?" he asked. Lisa shook her head. "We'd have continued looking outward, eventually finding others. Humans can't help exploring, connecting, and warning others about us." Eric asked with a smile. "No," Lisa replied, watching a ship from a newly contacted world land nearby. "Teaching others to be more like us. That's humanity's true legacy to the stars." Above them, Earth glowed blue against the blackness of space, a beacon of creative chaos in an ordered galaxy, forever changed and forever changing everything around it.